2 weeks ago, we went through this mind map, and this is a snapshot into my inner world, but just real high level, because we're going to spend specifically on the mechanics of grit and how to persevere through challenges today. We're going to be walking through the framework for it. But high level, what this is that you're looking at is essentially the root of the desires that you have as a man. So from the root word, desire means of the Father. Desire is rooted in your 4 parts. So intellectual, physical, emotional, and spiritual. The more that you know about yourself, you can understand what really drives you and motivates you. So we think about, what motivates us. Motivation comes from an extrinsic and an intrinsic point. So extrinsic is I'm motivated by food, money, sex, fame, or pain. So you've heard Josh share this many times. So we're really only do things for one of 2 reasons, pain or pleasure. And so it's going to be the pleasure for food, money, sex, fame, or the avoidance of some type of pain. That's an extrinsic motivation. What we really want to develop is an intrinsic motivation. This is where it comes internally. When you have intrinsic motivation, you no longer need discipline in the same way that you think about discipline, like doing things you don't want to do, because you're highly interested in whatever it is that you're doing. And so the foundation and the way that you build intrinsic motivation is through a cycle. First, you got to become curious about whatever the thing is. So I think about our Ironman Nate. He got curious about being able to run a half Ironman, a triathlete. And you guys, if you've done anything, you first built that interest with curiosity. Then you started to explore it, and you started probably developing some early wins, some confidence and competence in it that turns into passion. Passion then develops meaning, becomes purposeful, and you pursue your mastery process where all you want to do is do that thing. And so we've all probably felt this at some point, where you want to get to the point of mastery and autonomy of the thing that you're pursuing. Think about Mr. Dalton. He has pursued the day trading and started out with curiosity, it's developing passion. It's now to the point where it's probably consumes a lot of his thoughts, and he's thinking about when he can do it, how he can do it, and how he can build a full-time life around it. And so that's really the goals. We want to build intrinsic motivation on our personal mastery process. That's our drive. Drive and motivation moves us towards the outcome. We create progress towards our desire by stacking goals. And goals are, and you guys are familiar with this foundation, but it's the SMART systems: specific, measurable, actionable, realistic, and time-bound. All goals follow a very specific progress marker, which is we develop a plan early on. So my goal is to compete in this jiu-jitsu tournament coming up here this weekend. My plan is I got to lose a certain amount of weight. My prediction is if I lower my calories by X amount, then I'll reach that goal within the time frame that I predict. And then I check and see if I'm making progress. So for the last about 11 weeks, I've been working towards a specific plan to burn fat and make sure that my muscle and my explosiveness is still dialed in. I have modulated my calories on a weekly basis. So I check and make sure that I'm making progress. If I'm not making progress, I got to put the calories down a little more, etc. And so it's plan, prediction, progress, plan, prediction, progress. And that's how goals are hit. For you business owners, exact same formula. Okay, I've got a plan for my business. I'll put Nate on spotlight for a second. We want to reach X dollars in revenue. That means we're going to need X number of accountants, X number of primary accountants, and we're going to need to grow the team by this amount. So that's our plan. Then as we make progress towards it, we're resetting that prediction, making adjustments along the way. And so that is the formula for achieving your goals. So as we drive down to the third piece of this, once you've got the drive, the motivation, intrinsic or extrinsic, you've got clear vision-based goals that have markers with it, we then need to tap into the aspect of grit. And so grit is the mechanic of perseverance. And if you've ever pursued a goal, worked towards anything that is meaningful, that is part of that desire rooted in your heart and soul by the Father, you know that you're going to run into roadblocks. You're going to run into challenges. You're going to run into blown accounts with your day trading. You're going to run into employees leaving and taking a book of your business. You're going to run into real estate deals not going through the way that you want to. You're going to run into a microburst that blows up one of your locations, and you're like, man, well, I've got the desire. I'm motivated to this. I've got intrinsic purpose and meaning. I know what my goals are, but then I get hit with this roadblock, whatever that thing is. And this is where grit is so important. And grit is made up of willpower, mindset, passion, self-talk, mindfulness, and gratitude. And I'm going to break down this for you so it becomes a little bit more tactical for you. So when we think about grit specifically and how all this works together, grit then moves us towards, that ultimate desire and outcome. First piece is willpower. And this is the aspect I think a lot of us as guys try to force our way through. Willpower is a battery. It's like a battery. So when you get a good night's sleep, you wake up in the morning, you've got your maximum amount of willpower. This is when you need to be doing the hard things first. And so you've heard this before: eat the frog, prioritize, your most difficult tasks first thing in the morning. And the reason behind this is at the end of the day, there's just no bandwidth left. And so think about your big decisions happen in the AM, and all of your pre-decisions happen in the PM. So big decisions in regards to moving the needle within your business, moving the needle within your family, your faith, your fitness. Do the hard thing first. Because if you think that you're going to train for, and I'll put Nate out there, for a full Ironman, and you're going to do your 3 hours of daily training at 7 o'clock at night when you've got family stuff, you're exhausted, fatigued, and the business is on fire, the likelihood of that happening successfully is probably not very high. And you guys all know this. And so whatever your hard thing is that requires the maximum amount of willpower, know that you've got a battery that is depleting as the day goes on. And so stack that hard thing first. And that's that willpower mechanic. So this comes down to your schedule and priorities. This is inside the work and toolkit, which you guys have access to in school. But when you think about your hardest things first thing in the morning, this is your flat tire. And so I've shared this metaphor with you guys before. You guys walked out into the garage and you've got one of your tires is flat, the other tires are full. Where are you going to put air first? Obviously, you're going to put in the flat tire, because if you want to drive the vehicle, you need all 4 tires with the right amount of energy. And so you're going to fill up that flat tire. Obvious answer, but often for us, we will stack the things that are easier for us to do. And so if we love working out, we'll do that workout first thing in the morning. If we love quiet time, meditation, and being able to spend 2 hours in solitude, we'll do that first. But if that domain is already winning, I'd encourage you to maybe shift some, it doesn't have to be all, but some of that energy and effort towards the difficult tasks that you're avoiding. Because again, that willpower battery is very limited. It's full in the morning. It's empty and depleted by the end of the day. So if you've got budget stuff, tax stuff, if you've got client reports you need to do, I encourage you to go stack an early win with a mini workout, mindset, meditation, whatever it is, and then go spend a considerable part of that morning time moving the needle on that difficult task. This is just like putting air in the flat tire. This is part of the victory stack morning methods. When you think about those, that willpower battery, really 3 rules apply. The Pareto's principle, so 80-20 rule, you guys have heard this before, but 20% of your effort will create typically 80% of your results. Same thing, 80% of your activity on other areas often only moves the needle about 20%. And so if you understand that first part of the day, that 20%, quiet time, 4 a.m. till 9 a.m., whatever that morning window looks like for you, that can be the point in your day where you significantly move the needle forward if you put the energy and effort towards that difficult task. Bottleneck principle. So this is to fix the flat. If you, again, have that one flat tire and you're running down the road, you're going to create a blow up at some point. That one flat tire that needs energy and effort is going to cause the whole vehicle to break down and malfunction. And so understanding that if you don't put the air where the air is needed, you end up putting out a fire that's going to take all of your effort to try and fix and recalibrate. Of course, to eat the frog, tackle the hardest things first. That way you're not thinking about it, dreading about it, throughout the day. Great way to set up your morning routine is to schedule out those priorities. So if you know that there's something you're avoiding, you don't want to do, you've got a flat tire in one of your domains, faith, fitness, family, finances, spend some time to just write down what is the 1, 2, or 3 things that I need to do before the sun is up, my first 20% of the day, so I can really move the needle forward. And a great way that you do that is to plan your next day with plan your next day the night before. And so quick little recap: what got done, what didn't get done, what do you need to do for the next day, and just spend a few minutes brain dumping before you go to bed what your first 20% of the day needs to look like. Oh, look at Bodie. Dude, he is getting big. Look at
Aaron,
that
is
guy.
that like a PDF? Just
Yes.
a page that we could
Yeah.
like print and whatever? Okay.
Yeah, it's part of the workbook and toolkit. I'll drop it in the chat here, but there's yeah, a whole textbook for y'all.
Okay.
So that's the first part of this this mechanic of grit and perseverance, is knowing that willpower, again, is a limited resource. You can only white knuckle yourself through so many things, and so make your big decisions, your hardest decisions, and your biggest needle moving activities. Do them first thing in the morning, and then lean on your core values and your pre-decisions for the rest of the day. Second piece is your mindset. And so when you think about the mechanics of perseverance, pushing through hard things and challenges and difficulties and roadblocks and fires in the business and personal life, mindset comes down to one of two frameworks. You either have a fixed mindset, that's your attitude towards learning, or you have a growth mindset. Fixed mindset says this is happening to me. Fixed mindset says I'm behind the eight ball. Fixed mindset says I'm never going to make it. Fixed mindset says it's always like this. I'm overwhelmed. I'm frustrated, whatever it is. That's the fixed mindset. And you can quickly recognize that when you face challenge, whether or not you are approaching that with a curiosity. Growth mindset says everything is happening for me, and the opportunity for the opportunity right now is just like Garrett says during Mighty Men on Saturday. It says, if I gifted you a weight vest, one of those really nice um, um, like 30-40 pound weight vests for like $300, some people will look at that as a gift, other people look at that as a burden. And so you get to look at the approach or the challenge you're facing as, this is just strengthening me. These are reps. These are sets. This is another, lap around the park. This weight vest is making me stronger. And so that mindset is a huge piece to perseverance, because if you're depleted in your willpower, so you're avoiding doing the things that you know you need to be doing, first part of the day, and you have a fixed mindset, meaning this is hard. I don't want to wear the weight vest. I don't want to face this challenge. I don't see this as reps and sets. You then create not only external turmoil, but an internal turmoil. It makes things a whole lot harder. Mindset is tied into passion. And so when you think about passion, passion turns discipline into ease. When you're passionate, that means you're excited and rejuvenated by whatever the activity is. You can do the thing almost easily. It doesn't take any effort, and that's really the point that we want to get to. The way that you develop passion, and obviously a growth-based mindset, is understanding that it's a cycle that begins first with that curiosity. And so you guys got to be very curious about what it is that you are working on, working towards, and get to the point where that passion, the curiosity, turns into almost a state of obsession, where you get excited about it. You can move towards it without any real effort. You put the effort and you put the energy into it to become masterful. These two aspects for fixed or growth is your mindset and your passion, loop together in your recharge cycle. So if you think about perseverance as an endurance race, if you are running towards an outcome or goal, any endurance athlete knows there's an aspect of recharge. There's something that you're doing that is going to fill your cup and let your body reset and repair for the next challenge. And so an example for that is if you are willpowering yourself towards an outcome and you are constantly burnt out because you're just pushing and grinding and you're not having a reset cycle, you're gonna burn out the whole
Computer's
vehicle.
glitching out.
You're going to burn out the whole vehicle and not be able to run forward. And so there has to be something in your overall game plan that recharges you and it feels like play. And so whatever that is for you, I know some people play video games, some people, enjoy just spending time with the dog. It's rest and recharge, but you need to find some activity within your overall life. I see arts, guitar hanging up on the wall there. That can be a passion, play, recharge that takes your mind off of the thing that you're working towards so that your body can reset. And so we all need this. Every one of us needs some type of activity that is fun, playful, recharging, exciting, that we're curious about, that we want to become masterful in, that just allows us to decompress. Otherwise, we're just running on, we're running on red. We're going to blow out the engine. We try to keep pushing ourselves towards an outcome without some type of reset and recharge. Next aspect to this is your self-talk. So again, this is the mechanics of perseverance and grit. We're working towards that desire of the heart. We've got the intrinsic, extrinsic motivation dialed in. We understand our goals. They're clear, they're measurable. We're making progress towards them. And we now are just persevering through the challenge. The self-talk is huge. How we talk to ourselves, the story that we say, the language that we use is really going to create the success or failure for us. There's no villain in this life that we're facing that's bigger than the villain that we face inside. And so how we talk to ourselves is everything. And the great frame for this is, would you speak to a younger version of yourself the way that you speak to yourself now? And so for the fathers here, you've got boys and he's 5, 6, 7 years old. If you snapshotted your dialogue when you hit challenge, or you've got a roadblock, or you're facing some type of frustration, the same way that you talk to yourself now as an adult, would you speak to your younger self that way, or your son that way? And more than likely we won't. There's no way that we would speak to another person the way that we speak to ourselves. And this shows up in any level of limiting beliefs, not good enough, not worthy, pessimism. I think pessimism is a silent killer for us as guys, and this is that self-talk where things just aren't working and we continue to focus on what's not working. But if you were encouraging a younger version of yourself, your son, or somebody that you're mentoring or training, if they were facing a challenge, how would you speak to them? And it's very different than we often would speak to ourselves. And that's such a reminder, is to recognize that self-talk, because if we don't change that or pivot or adjust it, we end up becoming a victim to our own negative dialogue. And so the framework for this is recognizing the language that you use and the story that you're telling. And so what is the language that you're using in any situation or surrounding? Is it positive? Is it affirmative? Is it based in scripture? Is it based in hope? Is it based in motivation? And what is the story that I'm telling myself about the situation or challenge? A good way to reset this is to focus on previous wins. And so I've shared this tool with you guys before. I'll often write myself a note inside of like a greeting card. So if I'm at the grocery store, I see a greeting card that I like, birthday card, anniversary, whatever it is, something that I would buy for me. They're often like a little bit inappropriate, and I like to get them. I don't ever have anybody send them to, so I'll write myself a win in there. Hey, Aaron, today is June 16th, and I'm celebrating this win. I'm feeling just on fire with faith, fitness, family, finances. Here's what's working in my life. Here's the things I'm grateful for. I'll seal that up. I'll write on the outside in case of emergency, and I'll stick that in a drawer. I've got a stack of these cards. And when I'm in a down cycle and I notice my self-talk is unproductive, I'll grab one of the cards, open it up, read something. It reminds me of previous wins. Positive emotions. We can generate these whenever we want. We have the ability to change our emotions through movement. And so having some type of framework that will get you into a positive emotional state. Exercise, ice bath, jumping up and down, saying, Bedros used to say this all the time. He said, before you get on stage and talk, you jump up and down, with eyes closed, say, I like myself, I like myself, I like myself, I like myself. Something to change your state. And then powerful affirmations reminding who you are. So you can weigh that scale of positivity over pessimism. Next aspect to the mechanics of perseverance is mindfulness. I love this quote by Viktor Frankl. Between the stimulus and response, there is a space, and in that space lies our freedom and power to choose our responses. And our response lies our growth and freedom. The way that we grow our mindfulness, and so this means in the moment becoming responsive and not reactive, and for all of us that have shorter fuses, the way that we grow that is simply by spending time with our breath and becoming more present. So if you've never meditated before for any amount of time, I'd encourage you to add a couple minutes to your schedule, and it could be 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes. Meditation is not complex. It's simply a matter of focusing on your breathing, slowing down your thoughts, and letting the monkey mind just disappear. And so you can focus on like staring at something in a form of meditation. Exercise can be a form of meditation, but your goal is to get connected to your breath. Simply connected to your breath. The reason we often react as opposed to respond in moments that trigger us is because we get turned into a fight or flight state. And so a event happens, that event causes an emotional response, and then our breathing gets short, shallow, and we go into fight or flight. And so this is just the biomechanics of what happens when we're not mindful. The way do we create that space so we can be more responsive is to be able to slow down our nervous system, get connected with our body, and reset through big, full belly breaths. It's so simple. It's so simple, but it is a powerful tool and a mechanic that will shift you out of, negative state. Quick story on this. So we've got a little park over here in the this housing complex, and Ness is very well behaved. I typically don't have him leashed when we're walking to the park. He is pinned by my side. We'll walk over to the park and I let him go. He chases the bunnies. I throw the stick for him for a little while. This is like our 3 times a day daily routine. Yesterday afternoon, I was over in the park, throwing a stick for Ness. We're going back and forth. We're just enjoying our dog and dad time. And this Karen and his girlfriend, it was this dude and their little dog and this like mini poodle. Um, they start walking. He comes up to the edge of the park, and he says, "Your dog has to be on a leash." I said, "I'm sorry, what?" He says, "Your dog needs to be on a leash." I said, "Okay." And he says, "It's part of the law. Do you even live here?" And he starts going on this like just rant on me. And I said, "Bro, it is a beautiful day. Enjoy the walk with your woman. Thank you for letting me know that my dog needs to be on the leash." And by the way, this whole time, Ness is like in down position right next to me, pinned by my side. And we're exchanging this back and forth. And then he pulls out his phone, he takes some pictures of me. And he said, "Next time I see you or your dog without a leash, I'm going to call the cops." And I said, "Have a great day." And so he left, and a little bit upset. There's a lot of words that I wanted to say. Um, I said, "Thank you, Karen. Have a great day." That was the one rude thing I did say to him. I said, "Thank you, Karen. Have a great day." And apparently there's a WhatsApp group for all of the residents of the housing complex. And my neighbor came by a couple hours later and said, "Hey, I just want to let you know you're the hot topic in the WhatsApp group. There's a picture of you. It was a great picture of me and Ness. And there's this dialogue going back and forth about, leashless dogs, and they need to call the police, and all of this stuff. It's like, where does he live? We need to get his house number. He's probably from the apartments, across the road, and we can't have these kind of people in our neighborhood. All of this, like back and forth. And so I'm reading this thread, and I'm laughing a little bit. I had the gentleman add me to the WhatsApp group, and I introduced myself with a picture of my dog Ness. I said, "Thank you, Karen, for taking a great picture of me and my dog Ness. I appreciate you guys enforcing, the rules around here. But at the end of the day, y'all need to get a hobby because you're spending way too much time on this WhatsApp group." And so that was my dialogue. And then it goes back and forth, back and forth. There's like 8 people who just are the community police, and they had all kinds of things to say to me. And I noticed like the fire coming up. I mean, it was infuriating that this is the type of thing that people want to spend their time on. And I think earlier versions of me would have been very aggressive, much more aggressive than I needed to be. And I just simply let it go. And it was all came down to just breathing. they went on and on and on. And then eventually what the cool thing kind of happened is that other community members chimed in and, they handled it and I just got to step out of it. But I sent my one message and that was it and moved on past it. And so I think about, where Aaron would have been, 5 years ago, it would have been fists up. Me and Ness probably would have approached that guy very aggressively, and we would have had an altercation that would have led into something much worse. So I think about that stimulus and response. Breathing was the exact mechanic that I'd leaned into. I just took a deep breath. This is unimportant. This is where they want to focus their energy, so that's fine, and you move on past it. So just a simple example of breath and presence. The last aspect of the mechanics of perseverance and grit is gratitude. So you've heard Josh share this. This is a Tonyism, but where energy grows, focus goes. Our energy grows where focus goes. So having a practice of gratitude, and I would encourage you to do this at in your journal, within your schedule mechanic, end of day, beginning of the day. And it's also the reason that we have wins at the start of every call. Wins are not necessarily for you, but they get you to focus on what you're excited about. So you start the call bringing in some gratitude, but wins are for everybody else. And so when you find something you're grateful for, other people can find things they're grateful for, and it shifts the entire aspect of the situation you're in. So if you're in an endurance race and you're building grit, which is necessary for you to reach your desired goals and your outcomes, and you've got a clear picture, your goals are dialed in, you're motivated internally and externally, you've got the formula down for moving towards that state of flow and personal mastery, and you're in this endurance race of grit. You're on mile 78 of the 100-miler. It's so important to understand that willpower, you've already made a pre-decision. Your mindset, this is for me, it hurts, this is awful, but I know that it's making me stronger. I'm passionate, excited about this because this is part of who I am, my long-term identity. My self-talk is positive and affirming. I'm talking to me the way that I would talk to my son or someone I was mentoring. I'm mindful of the stimulus, the external environment, the Karens out in the world, and the things that pop up and the challenges of business. And I'm simply getting in that space and breathing. And then I'm finding things to be grateful for. As you focus on gratitude, everything grows, and we can change that language and dialogue so we can end up moving towards the thing that we want. And this is, of course, the focus and attention. So high level, and I know I went over a lot here, but if you are persevering and working towards a goal, it's important for you to understand your willpower. This is your battery. Understand your mindset. Is it fixed or is it growth? And the simple way you can check in on this is when you get hit with a challenge, how do you respond to it? It's very, very simple, just way. When you're hit with a challenge, financial, business, faith, whatever the challenge is, how do you respond to it? Is it a fixed perspective or is it a growth perspective? Do you have some type of passion, play, recharge, something that takes your mind, your heart, your emotions off the thing? We're working on a jigsaw puzzle. This is our fourth jigsaw puzzle that we're working on, and that is like a completely disconnected exercise that is fun, that allows my brain just to recharge. How's your self-talk in the moments? And our pastor at church does this really well. He says, and maybe Josh, you can quote me correctly, as I'm probably going to mess it up, but he says, you need to say what you think to see what you, how's it go, Josh?
You need to say what you see so you can see what you say.
There you go. Yeah. So,
So it's talking about vision. You need to say what you see as in you have a vision. Say what you see so that you can then see what you say.
yes. Yeah. And the other way around that too is I encourage you to speak out loud the thoughts that you have. And this is a good way for you to recognize, is my self-talk positive or is it negative? Is my self-talk becoming, powerful and purposeful, or is it becoming my own personal prison? And so as you speak it out, you're like, oh man, that's garbage. My language and story is awful. I need to change my language and change my story. Mindfulness, breath, and presence, taking time just to pause, no matter where it is. Jiu-jitsu is such a good training mechanic for this. You're in these states where your nervous system is fully turned on. You're in a literal fight, and flee like exact at the same time, like adrenaline, cortisol, all that's happening at the exact same time. And you have to become mindful. You got to slow down, just breathe, assess your surroundings and become present, and then focus on a practice of gratitude. I'd encourage you guys to write in the morning what you're grateful for, end the day with what you're grateful for, start conversations just like this. What are your wins? What are you celebrating? What are you focusing on? Clear? I went through a lot. Cool. Any questions? I'll drop into school all this.
Is Ness on a leash now?
Bro, so stupid.
Don't conform. Don't do it.
Oh,
Art,
man.
Art, what's the rule on that? The law? What's Art? I need
Six.
Art's opinion.
6 foot leash. Because
6 foot leash.
yeah,
Or actually, sometimes it's just a leash. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll just like put like a really long leash on him and just let him drag it. And I was like, he's on a leash.
yeah.
I had the same thing with my old dog where he was trained, right, to be off leash, and he was always next to me. We could, just like Ness, I'm sure, you walk past 3 other dogs barking at him. He's perfectly at a heel. And I mean, I never had someone approach me like that. If anything, I feel like more people were impressed, with my dog than their dog. But obviously, there's the Karens out there. Now I got some new puppies, and Art, they're coming to see you next month, and
Yeah, I know.
it'll be fun because the leash walking hasn't really started yet. So if I need to before he gets to you, I will. But it'll be cool to have another good, well-trained dog.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it.
It's awesome. Yep. There's oh man. And he was like such a Pam. Oh, he was such a geeky Pam. His like wife or girlfriend was, and the little poodle, and he
Create a card,
Ah.
and you can hand out that says like, "Are you a Pam?" Or Pam, whatever. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Austin's about 3 hours south of us, sir. That's your city.
Yeah. All good. All good. It was
Take up
Or
a
you
seat
could
when you
could
see him
tell
at the
him,
park next
if you
time.
want
Just
a
don't
dog
hurry.
as amazing as mine, call Art.
oh. All good. Yeah, so Ness will be leashed around the complex. I don't want to infuriate all the neighbors.
It
What
was
were you
the
saying?
beard, Aaron. You really pissed him off with the beard.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Toxic masculinity.
I kind of picked up on that. Art, I love it.
Pick us a tune.
It's my son playing.
Love it.
It's awesome. Cool, guys. Well, thank you for being the leaders and lighthouses this world so desperately needs. Appreciate each and every one of you. It's a breath of fresh air coming on a call and seeing you guys win every single week. If there's anything you need from me, don't hesitate to reach out. I love you all. Much love, many blessings, and boom.